Have you ever felt like life has stacked the odds against you? Like no matter how hard you try, there's a wall you just can't break through? What if I told you that the limits you think exist are nothing more than illusions? This is the story of a man who proved that the human mind is far stronger than we ever imagined. A man who transformed himself from an abused, overweight, directionless kid into a Navy SEAL, ultra-endurance athlete, and one of the toughest men alive. His name? David Goggins. And his book, Can't Hurt Me, is not just a memoir, it's a challenge. A challenge to stop making excuses, to push beyond pain, and to embrace suffering as the path to greatness. By the end of this audiobook summary, you'll walk away with Goggins' most powerful lessons, strategies that will rewire the way you see pain, discipline, and potential. This is not just about motivation, it's about mental toughness. It's about breaking the chains of weakness and unlocking your true power. So, if you're ready, let's dive in. Section 1. The making of David Goggins. David Goggins' story begins in a world of pain. Born into an abusive household, young David faced relentless physical and emotional torment from his father. The Goggins family lived in fear, and for years, David knew nothing but suffering. But the real turning point came when his mother made a bold decision: to escape. They left, but the damage had already been done. At school, Goggins struggled. Racism, poverty, and learning disabilities made every day a battle. He lived in survival mode, doing just enough to scrape by, haunted by self-doubt and a deep sense of worthlessness. By his late teens, he was overweight, working a dead-end job as an exterminator and avoiding the reality of his life. Then one night, staring at himself in the mirror, he hit rock bottom, and that's when he made a choice to transform, to push beyond what he thought was possible. That transformation wouldn't be easy. It required him to face every insecurity, every doubt, and every weakness head-on. He had to completely rebuild his mindset and his habits, one painful step at a time. And it all started with accountability, owning his failures, embracing discomfort, and refusing to let his past define him. This was the beginning of a radical shift, one that would lead him to discover the true limits of human potential. And so began the journey of David Goggins. Section 2. Embracing pain. Change doesn't come easy. For Goggins, it meant turning suffering into fuel. He set his sights on becoming a Navy SEAL. There was just one problem. He weighed almost 300 pounds. No one believed he could do it, but Goggins had already made up his mind. He put himself through a brutal self-imposed boot camp, shedding over 100 pounds in just 3 months. It was pure suffering, but he didn't quit. He faced Hell Week not once, not twice, but 3 times due to injuries. Each time he got back up. Most would have given up, but Goggins found power in pain. He learned that suffering wasn't something to avoid. It was the gateway to becoming unstoppable. This lesson would become the foundation of his philosophy: callousing the mind. The pain was unrelenting, the physical toll nearly unbearable, but Goggins thrived in the suffering. He realized that the very thing most people feared, pain, was his greatest teacher. He rewired his brain to embrace discomfort, understanding that growth only happens in the moments we want to quit. Through his struggles, he discovered that true power lies in the mind's ability to override the body's limitations. And once he unlocked this mindset, there was no turning back. He realized that when most people hit their breaking point, they've only reached 40% of their potential. He called this the 40% rule, a rule that would define his approach to every challenge that followed. Section 3. Mastering the mind. After becoming a SEAL, Goggins didn't stop. He pushed further, entering the world of ultra-endurance racing, a place where only the mentally toughest survive. His first major race, the San Diego One Day, a 100-mile challenge. But here's the catch. He had never run more than a few miles before. The pain was excruciating. His feet were shattered, his kidneys on the brink of failure. But he didn't quit. He forced himself to finish, crawling through the final miles. He proved that the mind is the ultimate weapon. When the body fails, the mind can push you further. But it wasn't just about physical endurance. Goggins developed the concept of the accountability mirror, a brutally honest reflection of his failures and weaknesses. He wrote down his goals, confronted his excuses, and demanded more from himself. This wasn't self-help fluff. It was raw, unfiltered truth. And it worked. Self-discipline became his foundation, and he started applying his principles to every aspect of life. He embraced suffering as a necessity, not a punishment. He learned that discomfort leads to breakthroughs, and every challenge he faced was another opportunity to prove his own strength. By continually raising the bar, he shattered every limitation placed before him, showing that true greatness lies in relentless self-improvement. Section 4. Beyond limits. Goggins didn't just break through his limits, he destroyed them. He set records, ran races that left his body wrecked, and pushed past pain in ways that defy logic. But he also learned a hard truth. Toughness comes at a cost. His body began to fail. His heart literally started giving out. Doctors told him to stop, but Goggins refused. He found a way to reset his mindset, using visualization and positive reinforcement to push through. He learned that true strength isn't just about endurance, it's about adaptation. Pain, struggle, and exhaustion are inevitable. But quitting is a choice. And Goggins never chose to quit. His mental strategies became sharper. He learned to block out negativity, silence self-doubt, and see obstacles as stepping stones rather than barriers. He tapped into his past suffering to fuel his future victories, proving that a strong mind can outlast even the most extreme conditions. As he continued to test himself, he set a new standard, not just for himself, but for anyone willing to embrace hardship in the pursuit of excellence. Section 5. Unbreakable. The final chapters of Goggins' journey take us deeper into his unbreakable mentality. Despite achieving what many would call greatness, he never let himself grow comfortable. He continued pushing, finding new ways to challenge himself physically and mentally. From setting a world pull-up record to tackling even more extreme endurance races, Goggins proved that growth has no finish line. Each victory was followed by a new challenge, a new level of suffering, and a new opportunity to test his limits. He learned that true mastery isn't about reaching the top, it's about constantly redefining what's possible. Pain was no longer his enemy, it was his greatest ally, and with this mindset, he became truly unstoppable. Conclusion. So, what's your excuse? What's stopping you from pushing past your limits, from becoming more than you ever imagined? David Goggins proved that the human mind is capable of incredible things, but only if we're willing to suffer for them. This isn't just a book, it's a challenge. A challenge to stop making excuses, to push through pain, and to become the hardest worker in the room. The question is, are you ready?